Okay, so the next call is going to be January 21st. If you guys are just joining us, I know a lot of people are going to be watching this after it's live. Our next call will be January 21st at 1 p.m. I need everybody to come to that next call with number 1, your New Year's resolutions, number 2, yearly goals, and number 3, what help do you might need. I am really excited about today's call. We've got Kurt Skelly on. Welcome, Kurt.
It's good to be here.
So Kurt, just so everybody knows, is Aaron's pastor right out there in Virginia. And he's also a tour guide and does he's actually the guide for many of these trips in Israel. And this whole meeting is going to be about our trip that we're doing, the Good Success trip to Israel. I'm not sure what we're going to call it yet. Good Success trip to the Holy Lands. I don't know. We probably should come up with some kind of a catchy phrase there. But anyways, this is, we've nailed down the dates with Kurt, and Kurt will be there. He's saying he'll probably be at least on half of our trip as our tour guide. And our dates are November 28th through December 8th. And I'm going to get in about 2 or 3 minutes. I'm going to kind of just give him the floor, and he's going to go over all the details, what's included, what the cost is, and then at the end, he's also going to be able to answer any questions that anybody has. If you are watching this late and you didn't get on, I do want to remind everybody that if for some reason this is your first meeting or your first introduction to Good Success, this is a different call than normal. And because of that, and because it's not really the mastermind, I wanted to give everybody the opportunity to be able to have a mastermind with Good Success as our gift to you before you see if our community is the right community for you or not. And that next call will be January 21st. So anybody this is their first call, they will also get that call before they have to kind of commit to the community and see if they want to come. There are some people that they're not really interested in being a part of the mastermind. They may know me, or you might just be watching this, and the only reason why you're on this particular call is because you are interested in the trip to Israel. I know that there's at least 2 of those people that are on this call for sure. And we will get to all those details, I promise you. For everybody on the call, one more thing I wanted to mention before we get into listening to Kurt and him kind of going over what's going to be included and why you might want to go to this trip. And then we'll get into the cost and all that stuff as well, and all those details, and get to your questions. But this Saturday, I am doing a local, I call it my local mastermind. We actually call it the Community Go-Giver Club. And we're doing something completely different this year for our Community Go-Giver Club. And if you're a virtual member, you get access to this virtually. If you're a local club member, you actually get access to it. You can actually come to the all-day live sessions. And if you're a national member, you also get access to this virtually as well. And if you're in town, or if you're a local person to the meeting and you are a national member, you also get to come to all those meetings as well. But we do 12 all-day meetings from 8:30 in the morning to about 4:30 in the afternoon. They're normally the last Saturday of every month, but we don't do a meeting in December. So we always do 2 meetings in January to make up for that meeting that we don't do in December. So this Saturday, though, is going to be a meeting where we are going to help you create your next year's plan and your next quarter's plan. And then you're going to actually leave the meeting on Saturday with that plan and with your next quarter goals. And then, but you're also going to give them to us. So next quarter or next month, you're going to do a check-in. So anybody who's a part of that meeting will check in, and we'll go over every one of those measurables, every one of those goals as a community, and hold each other accountable to those goals. And then after quarter 1, we'll actually review the quarter, and then we'll actually go over the next quarter's goals as well. There'll be a little bit of training mixed into each meeting as well, but that's going to be the mastermind process and the mastermind day. That's really the goal of those days, is to help you with your planning, and then also give you a community to hold you accountable to actually hit those goals. This is how people hit goals, just so you know. You don't hit goals just because like all of a sudden you wake up one day and all of a sudden you're successful. You hit goals by creating goals, putting them back into measurables and little weekly tasks that you can get done that actually help you hit those goals, and then checking in, creating data that helps you track how far you are along the way and along your progress. So we've been doing this in every one of our companies for the last 6 or 7 years. And now we're teaching this, and now we're actually created a community. And that's what this Community Go-Giver Club is all about. The virtual mastermind is basically 2 things. Normally we have a subject matter expert that will come on and teach something specifically. And And then the next call will normally be a mastermind session, which is going to be what our next January 21st call is. That's going to be basically everybody in the call comes on, they say who they are, what they do. And then something like this, 3 things that we want to talk to every single person about. And then the national mastermind is a little bit of its own breed. The national mastermind, we do a whole day boot camp. Our next one is March 31st through April 2nd. And that one we are doing a sales and marketing boot camp. We have some really cool people that are going to be there. I know Chandler George is going to talk about building funnels. We've got Amy from Riva Global, who actually was a sales trainer. She's going to get into actual sales process and a little bit about the thoughts and the mindset behind that. I'm also going to teach myself on scripting and how to have a sales script. And then we've also got Junior, who's our new guy that we've got booked. I'm actually really excited about him, but his name slips my mind.
Sean Quintero.
Yes, Sean Q is a Christian guy who's teaching marketing right now, and he's confirmed to be here, and I'm really excited about him. If you guys haven't been introduced to him, I would check him out online. He's got a lot of stuff going on. He just did a Facebook group in which he made $285,000 on the one thing. So if it's something that he really has figured out, and I'm really excited about having him as well on that day. And then we'll do 2 days of masterminding, which is really everybody get in front of the room saying who they are, what they do, what they're really good at, something that they've learned. And then at the end, what is their challenge? What is the thing that they would like to feedback on? And then we give about 10 minutes for the room to give feedback to that person. I can promise you, if you've never experienced the power of the mastermind, you need to do it at some point. It's a little bit of it kind of expands on what we're doing in the virtual mastermind. Every other call, we only have a 5, 6, 7 minutes for each person, where we have a whole half an hour to work on your business and try to help you. And what you'll find is some people have already gone through the exact same thing that you're going through. Some people haven't gone through it yet, and they're going to learn it from you before they even get to go through it. And there's almost like this power of this group of people that can kind of help you with your issues, but also hold you accountable to what you say you're going to do. So I'm really excited about that. So with that being said, with no further ado, Kurt, why don't you just introduce yourself a little bit before we get into the trip, and just let everybody know a little bit about you and what you do.
Sure. Yeah. Well, my name is Kurt Skelly, and I am a 54-year-old pastor here in Virginia. I've been here for about 4 years, the Washington, D.C. area, but I've been pastoring for the past 30 years. And because of my interest in the Bible and my interest in Israel, I went to Israel about 20 years ago. Some friends had asked me to go, and I had put it off. We're all busy people, and obviously there's a cost involved. But finally, I went, and honestly, I just got hooked. I went, and I was just so blown away by what it brought to me. Just by way of just understanding the Bible, understanding events and stories I had heard my whole life, that just really, my whole view was changed. And people told me that would happen. I was somewhat dubious about that, but boy, when I went, it captured me. So I decided that what I wanted to do is I wanted to go back every year and take a group from our church. And so I did that for several years, and I would just contract a different tour company in the United States. And then I realized that the tour companies, and more power to them, they're in it for business, and I don't begrudge them that. But the price kept on going up and up, and what we were getting for what we were paying, I wasn't satisfied. And so about 5 years ago, I started my own company. So Land of the Bible Tours is a company that we started. I know some of you, that I'm talking to right now, you're entrepreneurs. So you just know all that goes into the starting of a new company, the anxiety, all of it. So we did that 5 years ago. And what we were able to do, honestly, is to offer a better product for less money. And because of that, even without advertising, we've sent thousands of people to Israel. Now, this last year's been a challenge for your business, no doubt, and for our business. We've had, obviously, since March, every single one of our trips has canceled because of COVID. And we probably won't see everything restart until the fall of 21, which is one of the reasons why when I talked to Tom and Aaron, we thought it best to look at a trip in the end of 2022. That way, the COVID concerns are going to be in our rearview mirror, and we're going to be able to just with confidence walk forward with the trip. So the dates that we chose for the trip, and I'll say this too. Yeah, some of you might be thinking, well, what does this have to do with masterminding, and what does this have to do with the larger goal of good success? And what I would say to that is Israel provides a very unique opportunity for a group to gain cohesion in a way that you can't get anywhere else. For instance, you'll tour all day long, but then in the evenings, we have a hotel conference room set apart for your use. And it's a time for masterminding. It's a time for relationship building. It's a time for forging lifetime friendships. It really is a symbiotic trip, much more than just seeing Israel. You become closer to each other in ways that you could not and would not otherwise. So I did want to say that.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Kurt. And if you don't mind, we are going to plan on some of those, actually having a speaker several times during that, and be doing some business training for that. But I think in addition to that, and I totally agree with that 100%, you will get that camaraderie that you will never get any other time. But I really believe, as a Christian business owner, knowing the land, from a spiritual and business perspective, I actually think it helps bring the Bible so much more to life, and it helps you understand what's really going on. And I think that really transcends all the way through our life and through our business 100%. So I again, like, maybe I'm going on a limb here, but I really believe that you going to Israel as a Christian business owner will also help your business be better and help your purpose be stronger.
Yeah, and I totally agree with what you're saying, Tom. And I have a list of, probably 30 business owners that could attest to that and say that it really was a benefit, not just even beyond their personal life to their business. The dates that we chose, you'll see it there on the screen. I think are you seeing the trip to Israel screen right now?
Yes, we can see that. Yep.
So November 28th to December 8th, 2022. That's a Monday. So we leave on a Monday from the States. We arrive in Israel on Tuesday. We typically get in a site or two, even on that first day. And then we are in the hotel room that night. And then we start in earnest on that Wednesday morning. And then we tour the next 8 full days. And then we come back on the following Thursday. So it's a Monday through a Thursday. It's the Monday after Thanksgiving. And the reason we chose that date was twofold. Number one, it's a great time to go to Israel in that the busy season, it really, October, November, has subsided, and the sites are open again. If you go in early November or in mid-October, it's a great time to go, but it is just jam-packed. And by going the Monday after Thanksgiving, it's usually a lull in people's calendars. And so it's usually a good time to go, but it's a great time to see Israel. A little bit cooler. I mean, it's not like winter in Michigan, but it's a little bit cooler. I mean, it's jacket weather. You'll have some days, especially down by the Dead Sea, where it'll be in the 70s, but it's a perfect time to go. And so that's why we chose those dates. Let me walk you through the bullet points here, just get this out of the way, and then I'll say a few more things I think that might be a little bit more inspirational. So what does the trip include? Well, first of all, it includes round trip airfare. One of my passions about starting the company was I hated the way that companies hid their costs. And so a company would say, hey, go to Israel and they would put some low cut amount on there. But then what they wouldn't tell you was, oh, hey, by the way, that's flights out of New York on Wizz Air, and you have to pay for your food and your tips, and everything was an add-on. And by the time it was all said and done, you were not getting a lot for what you were paying. So I just decided that when we started our company, we weren't going to hide costs. We were just going to give people a good product and let that speak for itself. So what we do is we provide round trip airfare from an airport near you. So what do I mean airport near you? What I mean is a major portal airport. So Atlanta, Houston, Dallas, LA, Chicago, New York, DC, Seattle. We try to pick an international airport that is somewhat near you so that you're not having to purchase another ticket on your own dime and then fly to the portal city, get a hotel room, recheck your bags. It's just a pain. We want to give you a ticket where you'll get on your airport and we meet in Israel. Typically what I'll do is get us all on the same layover so that we're there in Israel at the same time. Sometimes it doesn't work out that way, but we create a window of time for arrival in Israel. We're there to collect you. We've got your name on a signboard and we take you right to the hotel on that first day. So I just want you to understand how the airfare works.
Do you have favorite airlines that you normally go with?
We price it and honestly do the best we can to stay within our budget. We use all the major carriers. We don't use any of the cut rate carriers. So if you're a frequent flyer, we want to keep you in. Matter of fact, if you'll give us a suggestion, we'll do the best we can to stay within your alliance, whether that's One World or Star Alliance. Or another thing to consider with the airfare is this. What some customers like to do is they like to book their own airfare just because they have some status or they have particular preferences. And if you would like to do that, then we'd be happy to knock that off of the price of the trip. And we'll just charge you for the land only portion. And then we'll just give you the window of time in which you're to meet us in Israel. And we do that for many, many people. Frequent flyers, a lot of times like to have that control. I do. I go speak at a different meeting every week of my life. And I always tell people, listen, let me book my own airfare because I just like to have that measure of control. So if that's you, then we'd be happy to work with you on that. And let me get this out right now. Maybe you could put this in the show notes later, Tom. And that is my email address is Kurt, K-U-R-T, at landofthebible.org. So treat that as one word, Land of the Bible. Kurt at landofthebible.org. And any question at all, if we can accommodate you, that's what we want to do. You might say, hey, Kurt, we want to go to Israel, but on the way back, we don't want to come straight home. We want to take the puddle jumper over to Athens, and we want to spend a couple of days in Greece, or we want to stop in Rome. Let us know, and we will make that happen. We want to stay and do Petra. We want to go to Egypt. Let us know. We can help make that happen. We have partners in those places and can help you. So just know that we want to help you make this trip the trip of a lifetime. And if that's something that interests you, just let me know and we'll work on it. When I say we, I mean James, not me, but I'll take the credit for it. How's that?
Awesome. Yeah. So
But
basically you have a certain dollar amount that you allot for the airfare. And I'm trying to remember who we flew through, but I knew we ended up flying through Scandinavia down in there or whatever when we went. But so there is a certain dollar amount that if you want to book your own, it'll be taken off the price at the end.
Yeah. It's $1,100.
Okay.
So if you choose to book your own flight, then we take $1,100 off. Because that's our margin for flights. Now, when I say that's our margin for flights, sometimes that bites us and it'll cost a little bit more to get people over there. But sometimes it helps us. Sometimes it costs a little bit less. It kind of washes out. That's kind of the aggregate number, the median number, I should say, is that 1,100. But that's what we would knock off of your land only if you decide to. I'd rather the trip to make it land only if you decide to fly yourself.
Perfect. And then one more quick thing on that. I know for me and Becky, when we went, that is the regular airfare. That's not first class, obviously. International flights, if you haven't been on one, you do have to know that there are bigger planes and they are a little bit more roomy. So it's not like you're flying on Southwest for 14 hours. It is a little bit more roomy, but for me and my wife, we still wanted to upgrade at least until that middle section of the plane. And if you guys want to do that, we obviously, Kurt will work with you with the airport.
Absolutely. Many people do that. And matter of fact, I would suggest if you have the margin to go ahead and go with premium economy. You'll be able to sleep well. You'll be able to, but we can help you with all of that. Obviously, we'd want to know your frequent flyer numbers because we can plug all of that in as well. So just keep all of that we can talk about as the trip unfolds. But all of that is available and recommendable, honestly.
And I will give out these emails at the end of this as well. But I do also want to let you guys have customer care at goodsuccess.com. That's Aaron. And Aaron can also help coordinate a little bit of that with Kurt and his team as well as we get going in there. So, Kurt, why don't you just get into more about here what it includes, and then I can kind of just give them from my experience,
Sure.
kind of how that works as well, and then we'll get into pricing and when things are included, and then I want to kind of really go over some of the sites, and I think you got some really cool pictures to kind of show us.
Sure. Yeah, sure. And I don't want to bore you guys. I could talk about this all day long. So let me just wade through this initial stuff so that we can talk a little bit more about that. So the round trip airfare, all transportation in Israel, from the moment you get to the airport, we'll be there to meet you. Matter of fact, we'll meet you even before you come out of baggage claim. We'll meet you. And then from then on, we'll be on the same bus for the next 2 weeks, and it's safe. It's always locked. It's always guarded. You can leave things on the bus. It's we never switch. They're brand new buses. They have Wi-Fi. It's really a good setup. Hotel accommodations. We stay at good hotels. They're called Israel 4-star hotels. Just understand that Israel, Europe, the hotel star system is a little bit different than the States. Rooms tend to be smaller. It is Israel, so they are heavily used, but these are not like cut rate hotels. These are good hotels with good food. And I will make sure that you see some samples of the hotels we use on the show notes later. You can, as you contact Erin, or maybe she can send a group email, we'll give you some examples of those hotels. Again, it's 8 full days of touring. The first day we get a couple of sites in, so it's really a little bit more than that. We always have a professional guide with us. Now, I'll be guiding as well. I've been there about 30 times. I specialize on the life of Christ and New Testament, but the professional guide will be a Jewish man who is not a Christian. He's a Jew. But they are trained. There's actually a guide college in Israel, and you are not allowed to conduct a trip in Israel without using a professional licensed guide. They are a treasure trove of knowledge. Honestly, they are amazing. Archaeology, flora and fauna, Bible history, all of it. They bring it all to bear. It's amazing. And over the years, I've gotten to know the best ones in the business. And so I've already reserved our guides for December of 2022, and you will absolutely love them. Next, of course, is the air-conditioned Wi-Fi bus. When I say Wi-Fi bus, if everyone's on the Wi-Fi at the same time, it's really slow. And so we just kind of tell people,
like dial up, but at least you have something.
Yeah, at least you have something. You can send some, you can check your email and that kind of thing. And of course the hotel has Wi-Fi.
Yes.
And then as far as the meals are concerned, all the meals are provided at the hotel. The only meal that is not included in the trip is lunch. And the reason for that is we just grab lunch on the way. So we'll typically, between sites, we'll stop at a little place to get a sandwich. And that lunch meal is the only meal that's not included in the trip. The buffet, they understand the Western palate. And so there is whatever you like to eat, it's going to be there. They have a beef every day, a chicken. They have a
They
fish.
don't have bacon. There's no bacon.
There's no bacon. Yeah. So you might want to bring your own bacon and your own George Foreman grill. But other than that, I think
it's very great. I will agree with you on the food. It is kosher. So most of the stuff is kosher meals. But I'll tell you, like you have, and it's not like buffets in the United States that you kind of feel like they're not clean and there's so many people on them. They really do a good job at least from the hotels. We went to Hotel Dan, and I'm trying to remember what hotel we were on, the Sea of Galilee.
Yep.
But they do a really good job of the food, and the food is really good, high quality, and I think you will enjoy. And honestly, he talked about the lunches not being provided. After day 2 or 3, me and my wife just started skipping lunches because there was just so much food that you almost felt like you were going to gain weight during this trip, even though you're walking 4 or 5 miles a day.
I bring a box of granola bars, and then I have a granola bar for lunch, because I just, any more than that, I'm putting on pound. You walk 15,000 steps, 15 to 20,000 steps a day, and you still manage to gain weight. I don't know how that works.
Yeah, lots of food. So, and then also something that they did when on our trip is they allowed you to buy water on the actual bus. But I think as our team, we're going to try to provide that for you guys, so everybody can have as much as they need as far as water. Because there are times at this time of the year it's a little bit cooler, like he said, but you never know. It still might be in the 90s. You still may get those super high temperatures. So, and it is very dry over there as well.
Yeah, no, that's good. I'm glad you added that, Tom, for sure. And then the last thing, just under the kind of the logistics here, all tips. So in Israel, everyone puts their hand out. So it's expected that you would tip the baggage people. It's expected that you would tip the reception desk. It's expected that you would tip the restaurant staff at the hotel. It's expected that you would tip the driver. It's expected that you would tip the guide. So we take care of all that. The price you pay for the trip includes all of that. And so, and we tip them well. So they take care of us. They know our company, and they take care of us. So you never have to feel like when someone's loading your bag or going the extra mile to serve you, that you have to give them a tip. You are tipping them, and we're making sure they receive those tips. So know that that's included as well, which leads us really to the price, which is it's $39.99 per person. And of course, all the pricing is based upon double occupancy. So that includes the airfare, that includes the hotel, the sites, just all of it. What you'll find as you research the Holy Land, and I would encourage you to do that, is that this is on the lower range for prices for Israel for an 11-day trip. That includes 8.5 days of touring, and includes the things that we've said. So when you look at Israel trips, you always want to compare apples with apples. For instance, a very reputable company called Templeton Tours, I gave them this exact criteria, asked them to price this, and the trip came out at $5,200. So we really try to keep it in a range that I understand it is an investment, but I believe it's a great price. So that's what it is. Before I move on with maybe just a sample itinerary, does anybody have a question about any of those bullet points that might benefit the group?
Real quick before you answer questions, and I think this is a good time to answer questions, so I appreciate that. So basically, I want to just review what he just said. The $39.99 price does include pretty much everything except for lunch, as long as you're okay with the regular regular economy airfare. So in my mind, if I'm thinking about going on this trip, I'm going to say I'm probably going to upgrade my airfare, and I'm going to have to pay for lunch and then maybe souvenirs. But really, I just want to make sure everybody knows there's not really anything else that you would honestly consider. So when it comes to cost, sometimes you go on a trip and it's, $3,000 a person, but you spend another $1,000 on a lot of the stuff that's already included in this trip. So I do want to make sure you guys know that. And then also I kind of wanted to give everybody some dates of when to expect, when things are due. As a company, Good Success, we are taking $500 to reserve your spot. I do want to let everybody know that is non-refundable. Now, when it comes, like Kurt has maybe already said, when it comes to COVID, we are going to be mindful about, that as far as it being non-refundable. But we are saying, as long as I can find somebody to fill your spot, I will refund that $500. And the cutoff for that is January 15th. So our cutoff that we're doing in order to be able to set all this up, in order to be able to send Kurt the money he needs next year, and to be able to make sure that we have
January 15th of 21.
Of 21, correct. So
of 22.
Yes, you have a whole year. So January 15th of 22. So we're recording this, I think, on the 7th or 8th on the 7th of of January 2021. You have a whole year from today, but I will let you know, I do think that this is going to sell out. So I would tell you, you do want to get your name in, you do want to get that $500 deposit in, and I will refund that, like I said, up until January 15th of next year, as long as I can get somebody to replace that ticket. Just kind of be upfront. I do want to let everybody know, like, don't just put the money up if you know for sure you're going to be canceling. That doesn't really do us any good. I can only take 42 people. So, and unless we have this massive, group that wants to go and we have like 80 people, there's like a whole nother step that we have to go in order to get to 2 buses. Right now I'm not even thinking about that. So right now the maximum people, we will say we're sold out at 42 people. I already have 2 people signed up, and I know I already have spouses of people on the team that will pay to be on this already, that are already pretty much committed to going. So the dates for that again, so January 15th of next year will be that $500 due. And then we're going to have $19.99 due May 1st of next year of 2022. And that's when we have to start purchasing airfare and really start putting money onto things. And then the final payment will be due September 1st. The final $1,500 will be due September 1st. If you guys, again, want to know for sure, I want to be a part of this, please get with Aaron at customercare@goodsuccess.com. But I did want to kind of get some of those dates out of the way. And if you're watching this live, you can even go back and watch this later and just kind of remind yourself when those dates are. So again, I really think you want to get it in now, or not, I shouldn't say now, but like soon in the next couple of months, raise your hand and say, I really definitely want to be a part of this. Get your $500 to us. But I'm willing to, like I said, refund that up until January 15th of next year. And I think that'll help everybody get to know what's going on. Again, Erin put her email in the chat there. So it's customercare@goodsuccess.com. If you guys know for sure, I want to be a part of that. Then that's she's going to be the one tracking all this, and she's the customer. She'll take care of the customer service for you all the way up to the trip, and even during the trip, if you need anything during the trip. We've got Kurt to kind of like guide us, but then as far as you are concerned, she is your concierge. If you need anything, if there's a question you have at the hotel or something that you need specifically, she's your point of contact. So thanks, Kurt. Let's get back into what you were going to go over. And if you want to just open up the air for quick questions now of the things that we've gone over, I think this would be a good time for that.
Yeah. So let me just say one thing, Tom, and I'm glad you mentioned what you just mentioned. And that is, hey, COVID kind of knocked us all down this year. And especially a travel company. So we had over 700 people cancel because of COVID. And so I just want you to know, because we don't know each other, what I want you all to know is that even though they had all paid their deposits and many of them had paid for their entire trips, we refunded everything. We refunded non-refundable deposits. I mean, it cost us money as a company, but we felt like the right thing to do was just refund everybody every dime. So that's just kind of our commitment. I want you to know that, Lord willing, COVID is not going to be an issue in the future. But if God forbid something like this should happen again, I just want you to know our track record, and maybe that'll make you feel better about that. Does anybody have any question that you feel might benefit the group? If it's an individual question, then email me or go through Aaron. But if it's something that would benefit the group, does anyone have a question right now?
So everybody should be unmuted. You're going to have to unmute yourself if you want to start talking.
Okay. Well, feel free to just talk up, but let me just run through here in rapid fire. And again, your time is precious, but let me just give you a taste of some of the things that we'll do and see while we're in Israel. So what we do is we do Israel in a clockwise direction. So we'll land in Tel Aviv. We'll start in a place called Caesarea. What you're seeing right there is actually the remnants of an actual freshwater swimming pool at the palace of Pontius Pilate. This is in a place called Caesarea. You'll recognize that as if you are a Bible reader, as the place where Cornelius lived, the place where Philip lived, the place where Paul was imprisoned. Paul's prison was just steps away from here. Another view of the Hippodrome. If you've ever seen Ben-Hur and the horse race, that's a Hippodrome, sat 14,000 people. That's the Roman theater at Caesarea. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about its significance in the Bible. We'll talk
I
about
want to know how you got that picture, Kurt.
what's that.
I just want to know how
Well,
you got that picture because
I'm
I
a lot-
couldn't get that picture.
I'm a lot taller than I appear on Zoom. Yeah, this is these photos are some drone photos
That
that we
has
have.
to be.
And you'll see the buses in the background, so it gives you a perspective just how big these places are.
It's huge.
We'll travel to a place called Mount Carmel. You'll recognize that as a place where Elijah met the prophets of Baal. You're looking right now at the Valley of Armageddon, and we'll see that from Mount Carmel. Here's another view of that, looking south along the Valley of Armageddon from Mount Carmel. We'll talk about the significance of the valley. We'll talk about how that valley spills into the Valley of Jezreel, into the Valley of Herod, off to the Jordan River Valley. It's an amazing site. We'll get about 5 or 6 vantage points of that site on the very first day. That's Mukarah, which is the traditional site of Elijah meeting the prophets of Baal. We'll talk about that. This is an aerial view of the city of Megiddo. You might not recognize that as being biblically significant. It was one of Solomon's chariot cities. It's a great example of a tell. We'll talk about what a tell is. It's where Ahaziah was brought and killed by Jehu. It's an amazing site. It's one of the most strategic military sites in the world. It sits at the pass at the southern portion of the Valley of Armageddon. That's the precipice at Nazareth that you're looking at right now. So we're actually going to walk up on the cliff, Luke chapter 4, where people endeavor to throw Jesus off that cliff outside of the city of Nazareth. We'll get a great view again of the valley. From there, we'll look across and see Carmel. This is all just day one, folks. This is the city of Nazareth. It was just a village of 300 to 500 people during the time of Jesus. Now it's a thriving city, mostly Muslim, but there is a Christian population there as well. The city of Nazareth has tens of thousands of people today. This is the pass. So you see kind of that tabletop in the distance. That's Mount Arbel. But down in the valley where you see that road, that's actually a valley that leads to the Sea of Galilee from Cana. It's called the Jesus Trail. And so geography has not changed in 2,000 years. It's a trail that you and I will walk, and you'll just get a sense of what it must have been like 2,000 years ago for Jesus and his disciples to walk on that very road as they made their way from Cana to Capernaum. I've actually made that hike, actually from Nazareth all the way to Capernaum. It's a 3-day hike. It's an amazing thing. So that's Arbel. There's another view of Arbel overlooking the Sea of Galilee. We're actually going to go up right to the top of that corner there and see the most stunning view of Galilee that you've ever seen. That's the Sea of Galilee. The Sea of Galilee is a lake. It's 13 miles north to south, 8 miles east to west. It's a freshwater lake. But so much of what happened in Jesus' ministry happened around that lake. And we'll talk about those events. We'll actually take a boat ride on the Sea of Galilee. We'll go out to the middle. We'll cut the engine off. We'll just have a time alone. It's a really special spot there on the Sea of Galilee. This is the city of Capernaum.
Yep.
Most of the miracles that Jesus did in his public ministry were done right here in Capernaum. And so the synagogue ruins that you're seeing, the white portion is the Byzantine era, 300 to 600 AD. So that would be after Christ. But the foundation of that synagogue, so the Byzantine synagogue was built on the foundation of the first century synagogue, is right there. So when we say that Jesus was at that synagogue, we can say that with definitiveness. I mean, we'll stand at the very spot where Jesus stood, where Jesus preached at that synagogue, where he healed the ruler of that synagogue's daughter, Jairus. We're going to stand right there. We're going to walk a stone's throw from there to Peter's house. We're going to walk another stone's throw down to the Sea of Galilee itself, right near where Peter washed his nets, or where Peter was reclaimed by the Lord in John 21. Just an amazing, amazing sight. We'll spend some good time there in Capernaum. This is the aerial view. This is the view from Mount Arbel. we're going to stay at a hotel just beyond to the right there, right on the northern part of the Sea of Galilee in a place called Magdala. Remember Mary Magdalene? She was from Magdala. We're going to stay at essentially a brand new hotel. It's beautiful.
Yeah, they were building that hotel when we went, and it looked amazing, and we got to tour that whole little area. So that, and it looked like it was going to be really, really nice. So that'll definitely be a great place to stay.
It's an amazing place. And then we'll head north. We'll go up to a place called Tel Dan, where Jeroboam the first built his, put his golden calf. The tribe Dan settled there. That's an example of that altar. You're looking at a mountain, by the way, in the background that's in Lebanon. So we're going to stand right at the convergence of Lebanon, Syria, and Israel, right there at the border. We'll look across. This is Abraham's gate. This is a gate in the Canaanite city of Dan. The Bible says in Genesis 14 that when Abraham went to rescue Lot, he went to the city of Dan, which meant that Abraham, now think about this, 4,000 years ago, walked through that door. So in America, you go to Washington, D.C. up the street from me, and you see things that are 200 years old. In Israel, you go and see things that are 4,000 years old. It's an amazing, amazing thing. That is the river Dan. You're familiar with the river Jordan? Well, Dan means from Dan. So there are three rivers that the confluence of which form the Jordan River. So here in Dan, we'll see the Dan River. There's Mount Hermon, the snow-capped mountain. Many people believe, as do I, that this is the Mount of Transfiguration. You're looking across a plain that's called the Valley of Tears, where the great tank battle of 1973 was fought, and the Yom Kippur War. So we're going to learn a lot about even recent Israel history as we go through this. This is a place called Bet Shan. It was one of the 10 cities of Decapolis. Remember, Jesus performed the miracle of the feeding of the 4,000 in Decapolis. It was in Decapolis that the maniac of Gadara received Christ. Remember, Gadara was one of the cities of Decapolis. Jesus would have spent time in this city. It's a strategic city right at the top of the Jordan River as one would make his way down toward Jerusalem. This in the foreground is the hill of Moreh, where the Midianites encamped against Gideon. In the distance, that round-shaped hill is Mount Tabor. Remember Deborah and Barak during the time of the judges. Right, the picture is being taken from Mount Gilboa. That's where Saul and Jonathan died in the battle against the Philistines. Just to the left of this picture is Jezreel. Just at the base of this mountain is Gideon's Spring, the actual water source where the men lapped up the water, the 300, Gideon's 300. We'll actually go there and see that. And so there's just so much in this one spot. This is Jericho. There's not much to see in Jericho, but they know where ancient Jericho was. All those mounds there were where the walls of Jericho were. Jericho is the lowest city in the world, elevational, and it's also the oldest city in the world. So we'll go to Jericho, the city of palms. Then we'll go to Jerusalem. And I don't have a bunch of pictures of Jerusalem just because it's impossible to capture it. But these are the southern steps of the temple. These steps go back to the time of the first temple, of the time of Solomon. So when Solomon first built the temple, we're going to actually stand on and receive teaching on those very steps. It's an amazing thing. We can know that Solomon and David and Solomon's children, all those kings, they walked up these steps. Here's the Garden of Gethsemane. We actually reserve a private spot in the Garden of Gethsemane for an hour, and we'll just take some time and pray. We'll take some time and just consider what full sacrifice looks like. It's my wife's favorite spot. So the Garden of Gethsemane, there's the Eastern Gate, sometimes called the Golden Gate. If I believe in Bible prophecy, this will be the gate through which Jesus will walk one day when he returns to this earth, the Eastern Gate. These are the pools of Bethesda. Remember the man that was there for 38 years that tried to get in the pool and Jesus healed him, John chapter 5. That's it. The actual pools of Bethesda will go there. This is the Temple Mount. the very famous Dome of the Rock, obviously, which is a Muslim shrine. But so much of what Jesus did and so much of what happened in the book of Acts happened right on that Temple Mount that was built by Herod back in a few years before Jesus was born. Well, we're going to get right up on that Temple Mount, and we'll learn all kinds of great things while we're on that mount. This is a field just outside of Bethlehem. These would be the same fields where Boaz had his field. These would be the same fields where David watched the sheep. These would be the same fields in which Rachel died. These would be the fields where the shepherds heard the announcement about the birth of Jesus. We're going to go to these very fields, the shepherds' fields outside of Bethlehem. This is the fortress of Masada, which was Herod's summer home. And maybe you've seen the documentary on Masada. It's an amazing thing. We're going to actually go up. Some of you that are willing to do it can hike up Masada. I do it every year. And so if a 54-year-old decrepit guy like me can do it, you can do it.
And some of you are going to be afraid to go up the tram.
Yeah, it's steep.
Like my wife. So Becky this is definitely way, way up there. And so I wanted to stay with her. We actually rode the tram all the way up, and then she got completely freaked out. She's afraid of heights. And then we went right back down the tram, and I didn't really get to view this. So this time I'm excited to be able to go.
And it's a great view of the Dead Sea. You won't have a better view of the Dead Sea than you will here. Matter of fact, we're going to go to the Dead Sea and we're going to float in it. It's the most, it's an indescribable feeling. Yeah, because the Dead Sea has 33% mineral content, so you can't sink. I mean, even when you put your foot down in it, it feels like you're having to push down on the water because it pushes you up. It's an amazing thing. This is En-Gedi, where David hid from Saul. It's an oasis right near Masada. We're going to hike all the way up to this waterfall. You see, you walk up to the waterfall. We're going to see some rock rabbits. The Bible calls them conies. We're going to see some ibex. It's an amazing sight. And that's all the pictures I included, because I know how it is to watch someone else's vacation pictures. It's like, it doesn't mean something until you're there. But I hope at least that's a taste of the fact that, man, we keep it moving. When I first started using guides in Israel, my guides would shake their heads at me and they'd say, Kurt, this itinerary is too full. How are we going to do all this stuff? But we do. I feel like, hey, we're going to Israel. It's a once in a lifetime trip. Let's see all that we can. So we get up in the morning. We leave at about 7:30. We tour all day long, and we get back about maybe 6 o'clock at night. We get a nice leisurely dinner together. Some people would like to meet and hang out. What I do, and you're welcome to do this with me, is I take a group back out at night, especially in Jerusalem. We'll go out shopping. We'll go out to a coffee shop, or we'll walk the old city of Jerusalem. We'll go to the Western Wall and pray. I mean, it's just wide open. And I hope that you'll at least consider going. If you don't go with us, go with somebody. But you owe it to yourself sometime in your life to go to Israel. It really is a life-changing trip.
Yeah, I totally second that. And to me, I feel like there's some. I'm not sure if you subscribe to this or not, Kurt, but I know our guide kept talking about Israel of the land as like the fifth gospel. It's almost like you have to know it and understand it. And you're absolutely right that the geography hasn't changed. The only thing that's really changed is the buildings. The buildings have almost all been crumbled, and you're really only looking at small remains. It's really cool that we're going to be actually staying at Magdala. Yes. We actually took almost a half a day of our trip just to go there, and we're not even going to have to do that because we're actually going to be staying there. So that is actually kind of, for me, something exciting that I kind of, will be looking forward to at this trip. Plus it'll be a new hotel, and most of the hotels there are not new. So that'll be a little bit of a different thing to be able to have there as well. We did have a couple of questions that have been, I think they've already been kind of answered. One was a date. So we already got that. And then the other one just said, well, what is there anything about travel restrictions at the time of the trip, such as war? Would the trip get moved or canceled at that point?
Yeah, our first option always is to try to reschedule. And so that's what we did this year with COVID. We rescheduled all the trips. But some people said, hey, I'm uncomfortable rescheduling, or the new schedule didn't work with me. And in that case, we just refunded their money, no questions asked. So that's kind of been our mantra this year. Lord willing, everything will be back to normal. I do want to say this. I have a special heart for pastors to be able to go, because I know that when a pastor goes, it changes his ministry, and it really is the gift that keeps on giving as he preaches and teaches. And so I don't know, what denomination or persuasion all of you are that are listening, but if you're a church-going person, and your pastor would be interested in going, have him call me. I have a couple options that I can talk about with him, whereby he can end up going for free. And I've done that for dozens and dozens of pastors. So if that would be something that you would feel comfortable doing, just contact Aaron or contact me. And then I want to say this, and this is a shameless plug, okay? But I'm going to give it to you anyway. I do a podcast every day called Everyday Truth, and we just go through portions of the Bible, 15 minutes a day. It's a conversation. You can find it on any of your podcasting platform, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever. I would love for you to join me and be a part of that. You can listen any time of the day. It's perfect for a commute. But if you have a desire just to be in the Bible more in a practical way, I would love to have you join us for Everyday Truth.
Yeah, thank you for that. I was going to try to give you a little bit of time to be able to plug something if you had something going on. But Everyday Truths, check out that podcast. I also want to remind everybody about the customer care at Good Success email. And then what was your email again, Kurt? If somebody wanted to get a hold of you?
Kurt, Kurt, at landofthebible.org.
So if you guys want to get a hold of them for that. And then also, I did want to kind of end giving some encouragement to just everybody as business owners. I know that, right now, if I don't really care what side of the aisle you're on politically, but I think this, we kind of all feel a little bit of a, like we've lost America a little bit this week. And what I want to just encourage people in the Good Success community to think about is nobody really cares about your opinion. And I think there's too much opinion being put out there. And honestly, like I've typed several things on Facebook and said, you know what, I don't think I should be posting that thing. And I don't think I should be commenting on that to that certain degree. And I just want to encourage everybody to maybe step away from some of the, from some of that political speak and political conversation, and just really ask God what he wants from you. And really, as the Christian business owner, Paul talks about this quite a bit in the New Testament. Like as a Christian, we're going to be known for our words. We're going to be known for our works. We're going to be known for the things. And this, if anything, it should excite us because it gives us an opportunity to be who we were called to be and to be the light. Christians are the only people that when you think of good apples and bad apples, a lot of your parents will teach you, don't go hang around the bad crowd, because even if you're a good person, like the bad crowd, one bad apple is going to spoil everybody. But Jesus and the light that's supposed to be inside of us is supposed to do the exact opposite effect. Adam ruined everything in the Garden of Eden and made everything black, but Jesus came and to be the light of the world and to be us. And we're supposed to be that person that's different in the crowd. We're supposed to be the people that is encouraging and inspiring and trying to help people along the way. So I just want to leave everybody a little bit with that encouragement. And then also, I'm glad you brought up pastors. If for some reason you can go with your spouse, I would highly, highly, highly recommend that you bring your spouse along the way on this trip. It is something, like you said, you'll bond together as a couple on this. And I think that's awesome. But if for some reason, maybe you're not married or maybe your spouse can't go, I think the next best person that you could possibly bring would be your pastor. So if you're a Christian business owner and you want to be an encouragement to your pastor, I just wanted to throw that out and just want to plant that seed that I promise you, your pastor would be blessed by this. And I think us as Christian business owners, it's one of the reasons why I created Good Success in the first place was, yes, to work, to have, to give. I want to encourage other people to have more, not so they can just have another boat or have another yacht or have another vacation or do another trip, and not to just leave a legacy of money, but work to have to give is the whole kind of purpose behind Good Success. But I also believe that we need strong Christian business owners in our churches, and we need to be an encouragement to our pastors. And I have this whole story about Brother Hiles and how business owners weren't so good to him and my pastor growing up, and how they said it's us or the bus kids that, I've talked about several different times in different meetings I'm at. And I don't want to be that way. I don't ever want to give my pastor an ultimatum and tell him he needs to do this or else. I should always be submission to him. And I should always be thinking about how can I encourage and how can I lift him up? Our church has even the Aaron and Her ministry. That's all they're all about, is just praying for the pastor and lifting him up to God. And I just want to encourage all of us to be that way and be that person in our community and in our churches as well. I believe the church needs the Christian business owner as much as it needs the pastor. And I take my post in my church very seriously. And I want to encourage you to do the same way. I'm glad that you brought up some of the other stuff about your podcast. Me and Kurt are actually planning on a podcast for him to be on the Good Success podcast and telling everybody what Christian business owners mean to him, and also giving them tips from a pastor's perspective of how Christian business owners maybe can encourage their pastor and how they can be have a better ministry and really help their pastors and help their churches. I'm really excited about that. And also, I might also, if Kurt's up for, actually have him just do that in the mastermind as well. Not just the podcast, but actually have one of our calls be based on that as well. And that, to me, that excites me. I hope that you're the type of person that would excite as well. So why don't we just open it up for questions? I know we're a little bit over, but these calls normally go a little bit over anyway. And I think that Kurt still has a couple more minutes. So if you guys have any questions at all, please don't hesitate. Let's just unmute everybody. And I just want to if you guys just have an encouraging word, that's fine too. But if anybody has any questions, this is your time.
Hey, Tom, the $500 deposit, is that January 15th of this year or of 2022?
That's 2022. But I would just encourage you to get that in as soon as you can, because I have to kind of take first come, first serve to that first 42. So I'm not trying to get everybody to just give me their money now. Like, it doesn't really make sense. I get it. But we'll let you know, you're in the mastermind, so I'll definitely let you know when it's getting close to cutting off. But January 15, 2022 is when that we're cutting it off. But I will have to cut it off before that if more people pay before then. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm not trying to get in anybody hurry. We have a whole year before that's due. But if you want to commit and already say, yes, for sure, I want to go, get with Aaron. We can at least get you on that list of, right now we have a list of, honestly, I think almost 40 people, Aaron, if I'm not mistaken, that have already said, I'm interested, put me on that list. I want to go. But now I need that next commitment. Yes, for sure, I want to go. And at some point, whoever brings that money in first, I kind of have to give them obviously first dibs on taking that. That's just kind of, I don't know how else to do it. And again, like I said, if we get this massive, interest and we have 60 people that want to go, we'll open up a whole nother bus. They won't actually be able to be on the same bus as Kurt. But we will do that. It's not right now. I'm not really planning on that. And I don't really want to make everybody think that we can just take as many people as we want. We do have to cut it off at some point. But if we fill up that 42 super early, say by, July or August of this year, we might, try to open that up if it makes sense. But with COVID right now, I can't really think that way. I really have to think that we're only going to be taking one bus, and I really have to probably stop it off at 42, unless Kurt, you think any differently, but I think that's kind of what we've talked through.
No, that's good. I would say sign up 42 and then tell people beyond that, we're going to begin a waiting list. And then when that waiting list is sufficiently heavy, then we can go ahead and go forward with the second bus.
Yeah. Does that make sense, Rich? Rick?
Yeah, I had to unmute. Yeah, thanks.
Awesome. Anybody else? Thomas, Richard, Matt, Jen, George, Jared, Tim, anybody got any questions?
I just wanted to add one thing. You're welcome to email me if you're ready to to start the process, but there will be a portal set up on the website by the next mastermind that you can go in at any time and just start the process.
Yeah. So tell your friends, and like I said, tell your pastors, your spouses. I'm really excited about this. I know that this is going to sell out already from the interest that I've already gotten. So I'm not really worried about it selling out. I just want to make sure that I'm careful to give the right people, first dibs on being able to make it happen for them. So other than that, Kurt, you have any final words for us?
No, I think that covers it. And some questions will definitely arise, just that you thought, why didn't I ask that? And, always feel free to reach out through the email. And I would reiterate, Tom, what you said, and that is the trip's going to fill up. We had scheduled 20 trips last year. Every one of them filled up. So there's a massive interest right now in Israel, and for good reason. So I really hope and pray that some of you will be able to go.
Yeah. And me and Kurt talked about this too. I think we have to know that all the travels has stopped. You talked about all the 700 people that you were going to go with this year. All that stopped. So now as soon as it kind of starts opening up, it's going to be a max exodus in. And we really have to make sure this is actually probably the perfect time for us to start getting this all, scheduled and get going. So we literally have to book this now in order to be able to actually have dates and have hotel rooms way back, 18 months from now.
To get the hotels we want, we got to do it now.
Yes. So, all right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you, Kurt, for spending some time with us. I really do appreciate your spirit. It's contagious. Every time I get with you, I just want to spend more time with you and take you to lunch and just pick your brain and just, I really do. I love the camaraderie, and I love the spirit that you bring and everything that you do, and everything I hear from Aaron as well. I've been to your church several times, listened to your church several times as well on top of that. But thank you for your time and your investment in our community. And that's really what it really is what I think about it. Do want to remind everybody about some of the important dates coming up. Again, March 31st through April 2nd. That mastermind is going to be pretty full. We already have many new people that are going to be there at the next mastermind, and a lot of the members are already planning on being there. So it will be a pretty full event. I'm really excited about the sales and marketing boot camp. And that's the live event right here at our office in Gary, Indiana. If you're flying, you're going to want to fly in through Midway. You can fly through O'Hare in Chicago, but Midway is about 30 minutes closer. So you really should fly through Midway if you can. And the hotel that we have linked is in Maryville, Indiana, which is only about 7 minutes from our office. Or you can stay at our Airbnb vacation rentals. But if you want to stay at our Airbnb vacation rentals, you have to get with Aaron soon because we don't have too many of those. Also, the next call is January 21st. And for the new people, I do want to invite you on that call for free if you're not already a part of the mastermind. So January 21st, 1 p.m. Just remember New Year's resolutions, your yearly goals, and then what we can help you with. And then this Saturday in 2 days, starting at 8:30 if you're going to be here live, and 9 o'clock if you're going to be on virtually, and that'll go to about 4:30. It's a full day event, and we will be planning you will leave with a yearly business plan for your business, and then a community to be able to hold you accountable to those numbers and to those goals throughout the year, which I think is actually the most powerful piece of that whole thing. Not just the plan, it's actually the holding you accountable to it. One quick thing about Israel before we go, I have to plug this. The time of the year on this, I want to just tell you two tips before you get going and before you say, I want to go. That time I think is actually so perfect because most of us have off, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I'm going to warn you, if Kurt's saying we're going to be doing traveling and sightseeing that day one, you're going to be tired because if you haven't flown international, it is brutal. So I'm just going to give you a tip. Rest up that weekend. And then the other tip I'll tell you is make sure you are not in shape to run and not in shape to run a marathon, but make sure you do some walking before this. You don't want this to be the first time you walk 5 miles in a day because there will be several days that they will walk uphill on bricks or on uneven ground. Make sure you have comfortable shoes. We took elderly people that even had canes. So it's not like you can't do it. It's not too hard, but it is you do want to make sure you have comfortable shoes, and you do want to make sure that you rest up before you go if we're going to hit the ground running when we get there. So that's going to do it for today, guys. Remember to be a conduit, not a bucket. Work to have to give. We will see you on Saturday for a lot of you, and we will see you in 2 weeks for some of the other people as well. Unless anybody has any questions, and if you guys do, you guys can just direct those to sales@goodsuccess.com or customer care@goodsuccess.com. All right. I think that's it. George just said, thanks for the presentation. I'm looking forward for the possibility of participating in the trip and the details in your mastermind. So awesome, George. Thank you for that. I think that's it though. All right. So we're going to stop the recording and we'll be all good to go. Thanks, Kurt. Thanks, everybody.